Okay.
Okay, do you see that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So, you see it, John?
Yes, yes, I
Okay,
do.
everybody can see it. All right. So my theme today is ancient Southwest rock art and how ancient Southwest rock art has been impacted by Mesoamerican themes, how far the Mesoamerican ideas and deities and iconography reached into the Southwest, so that it impacted the rock art that the folks in the Southwest were performing. And the four main deities and ideas that come out of Mesoamerica that you see on ancient Southwest rock art are Tlaloc, the rain god, Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent. We'll be talking about these, the Venus symbol, and the Mesoamerican Mayan hero twins. So those are the four themes that you see expressed on ancient Southwest rock art across the Southwest.
Okay.
Now, the sphere of influence for Mesoamerica and all of its ideas to filter into the ancient Southwest is what you see on this map here, which is now called Oasis America. And there's three main ancient Southwest groups or tribes that penetrated past the Rio Grande into northern Mexico and then stretched out from the Rio Grande into the Southwest. The first one there, the lowest one, the green one, the Magallanes, that stretched all the way down to Chihuahua and Sonora and places further south. So this is a group that lived in the ancient Southwest, but they also lived in Mexico, in Mesoamerica. And so obviously they're going to bring Mesoamerican ideas back and forth across that border because that's not a border for them. And then the yellow one over here, the Hohokam, they're in Arizona and New Mexico, and they're bordering on the Magallanes. And so they're going to get trade items coming in from Mesoamerica as well as from the Magallanes to their east. And so they're also going to be influenced by these Mesoamerican themes, and they're going to express these themes in their rock art as well. And then the furthest to the north up here, again, New Mexico, Texas, Utah, all kinds of places across Colorado, across the Southwest are the ancestral Pueblo peoples. Used to be called the Anasazi, but they don't like to be called the Anasazi anymore, so they're called the ancestral Pueblo. And they have,
Why don't they like it, Mike?
because an enemy of the Anasazi named them, and what it means is enemy.
Oh, okay.
It was the Navajo who did that.
So they don't like to be called enemy, obviously, so they said, quit calling us that. We're the ancestral Pueblo.
Mike, can you show or just give an indication of the extent of the Mimbres area on that map?
It's coming. It's coming.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
And so the ancestral Pueblo hosted the biggest collection of Mesoamerican items, artifacts, and art in Chaco Canyon. And as you can see on your map, where Chaco Canyon is in New Mexico. And the biggest site in all of the Southwest is a place called Pueblo Bonito, which is part of the culture that was going on in Chaco Canyon at the time. And lots of Mesoamerican stuff found in Chaco Canyon. Mesa Verde to the north of Chaco Canyon, also very, very large site with, again, lots of Mesoamerican items found there. So what was happening in terms of things that entered Mesoamerica into the Southwest area that brought these ideas, social ideas, religious ideas, economic ideas, political ideas? What was the main influence to bring these ideas into the Southwest? And of course, like with everything else in world history, it was trade. And so the Mesoamericans brought to these places scarlet macaws, they brought cacao, chocolate, they brought obsidian, they brought jade, they brought copper bells, they brought iron pyrite that looks like gold, and which they could make different kinds of art items from them, shell trumpets, bracelets, necklaces, and pottery. And in return, we thought in the past, just very recent past, the folks in the Southwest gave them turquoise. And so there's a lot of turquoise in New Mexico, some in Arizona, not a lot of turquoise, we thought, south of the Rio Grande. But with further research, very recently, we're finding out that most of the turquoise that we see in Mesoamerica does not come from New Mexico or Arizona. It's native to Mesoamerica. It's native to south of the Rio Grande. It's not southwest oriented turquoise. Not as good, but that's where most of it is. And we also overestimated the amount of pieces of turquoise that we thought were Mesoamerican at major Mesoamerican sites, like the Toltecs traded into the Southwest. And we thought that the Toltecs got a lot of turquoise in return for all those items above that you're seeing from the Southwest people. But so far, with much closer research, they've only found 12 pieces of turquoise at the main Toltec site at Tula, only 12 pieces. So that wasn't a major trade item from the Southwest. So we're now going to have to figure out, well, the Mesoamericans gave a lot of stuff to the Southwest, and they got almost nothing except for a few pieces of turquoise in return. So there's got to be more answers to that mystery. And so that's more research that has to be done. Okay, now who is Tlaloc the Rain God? And there's my phone, and I'll have to take care of this real fast by turning it off. Okay, now, Tlaloc is the major Mesoamerican god of rain and thunder. And so he represents in his visage as a deity. He's the rain god, the thunder god. He brings rain, and so he brings fertility. He's the god of caves because there's a lot of places in Mesoamerica where there's huge underwater deposits and caves. Lots of springs going on in Mesoamerica. So he's the god of springs and the god of mountains because there's a lot of clouds that gather around mountains and the clouds bring the rain. And so Tlaloc is also the god of mountains. When you see him depicted in Mesoamerican art, he always has big goggle eyes and fangs. And the fangs are there because he can be angered. And if he's angered, if you don't give him sacrifice, enough human sacrifice among those kind of sacrifices, he'll hurl destructive storms, lightning, and other disastrous kind of events at you. So he's a very fierce god. And so when they built pyramids in Mesoamerica, all the way across the terrain, it's now thought that pyramids were seen as in their mind as symbolic mountains because of the clouds and because of the rain and because of the fertility and so on. And so this rain god Tlaloc was introduced into the ancient Southwest by way of this long distance trade that I just described to you through what we now call Oasis America. And this trade emanated from, for the most part, from Chihuahua, Sonora, Baja California, into New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, the Four Corners, and the Gulf Coast. And how do we see him on the rock art in the Southwest? Well, we recognize him because of his large eyes, like Tlaloc the rain god in Mesoamerica. And he often is drawn by Southwest rock art artists in these trapezoid or rectangular bodies. And often he has fangs, just like Tlaloc the rain god in Mesoamerica. The imagery is also in the Southwest pictographs shown with a step fret design. You see below this pictograph from Waco, Texas, in which you see the goggle-eyed rain god Tlaloc, and then you see this trapezoidal figure with these little inserts, these little square inserts, and each of these inserts have rain symbolism, lightning symbolism, thunder symbolism. So we know that this particular deity that is a pictograph found in Texas is directly related to the Mesoamerican rain god Tlaloc. Now, what does Tlaloc look like in Mesoamerica? Top left here, you see from an Aztec codice, there's Tlaloc, and he's got the big goggle eye, he's got fangs. In his hand, he's throwing thunder or lightning or storms. And so we recognize him always in that guise as Tlaloc the rain god. Here,
Can you, Mike, can you
Yes.
make that bigger? Can you click on that or something so it takes, well,
no, I can't. I
okay,
can't do that in this guy, in the way it's set up, no.
okay.
And so this famous visage, this mask, this pottery vessel of Tlaloc the rain god, which the great architect, great archaeologist in Mexico, Moctezuma, found this at the Temple Mayor when he excavated it in downtown Mexico City. And here's the rain god at the Temple Mayor, and you can see again the big goggle eyes and the fangs. It's very unusual that the guy that would excavate the main temple of the Aztecs in Mexico City, his name is Moctezuma. That's his last name. And so Matos Moctezuma is his name. So his name is the family name of the emperor Moctezuma. Here's another Aztec codice. There you can see a Tlaloc with the kind of dark goggle eyes, the fangs. There's the lightning or thunderbolt or storm bolt that he's throwing down upon those below. Here from the Aztec related site of Tlaxcala in central Mexico, you can see this sculpture of Tlaloc the rain god with the goggle eyes, the fangs, and so on. So again, you're getting the picture of what he looks like in Mesoamerica. Here in West Mexico, the Colima style of art, again, the goggle eyes. We know that that's meant to be the rain god, not fang-like, but sort of fang-like, kind of angry-like, even though it looks like a smile of the rain god Tlaloc. Here in Oaxaca, the Mixteca style, that's another group in Oaxaca. There's the goggle eyes and there's the fangs of Tlaloc, the rain god. In Veracruz on the Gulf Coast, in their inimitable artistic style, Tlaloc, the rain god with the big goggle eyes, looks like a pair of goggles. And then in the very early Zapotec style in Oaxaca, way to the south, here's the rain god again with goggle eyes and fangs.
Mike, that's a fantastic display of those 8 images. Did you put those together?
I did, of course, yeah.
That's very impressive. I'm so thrilled to see that. I've seen, I think, almost every one of those in museums, the actual ones you're showing, but I've never seen them assembled like this. It's a very great contribution you're making just by doing that.
It takes me a long, long time to do these presentations, but for that reason, believe me, a long time. And so here you remember from those of us who went to Teotihuacan, sculpted into the side of the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, here's the rain god with the goggle eyes, the fangs, very scary looking imagery of Tlaloc the rain god at this main central highland site of Teotihuacan pre-Aztec.
We know there were a lot of human sacrifices at that very site.
Exactly, and found underneath the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, found right underneath. And here again from Oaxaca, way south, you find this, what looks like to me, because I know something about Mesoamerican art, a sort of a mixture of Mixteca and Zapotec style. It's not one or the other. It's like an artist who knew both styles, making this particular mask or sculpture. And here he is, Tlaloc the rain god with the goggle eyes and the fangs. And then you have these 2 frogs in front with fangs. And why would frogs be there? Well, across Mesoamerica, both in the highlands, West Mexico, and in the Maya area, frogs are very divine creatures because they float on top of the water. So they're seen as representing animals that can be on the upper world, this world, and in the lower world, in terms of they're floating on top of the water. So they're in touch with both the underworld and this world. And so they see this as kind of a divine emanation of animals related to this idea of an animal that's in touch with both realms, and also related to water, which is in front of Tlaloc the rain god here. Now, how do we see him in the Southwest? And how do we prove that these Mesoamerican imagery, this Mesoamerican idea, this Mesoamerican deity is represented all the way up here in Texas and Colorado and all as far north as Utah? Well, here is some imagery of Tlaloc the rain god in the Southwest, across the Southwest. Here on the left, from a site called 3 Rivers in New Mexico, there you see the goggle-eyed rain god in a pictograph on this piece of stone on the side of a mountain at 3 Rivers, New Mexico. Another pictograph at 3 Rivers, New Mexico, you see the goggle-eyed Tlaloc right here on the side. And in the center here, you see the Peck Cross Circle. Now, the Peck Cross Circle is seen across Mesoamerica. A lot of them have been found at Teotihuacan. A lot of them have been found in the Maya area. So far, 37 of these Peck Cross Circles have been found by archaeologists. It's going to be hard to find more of them because they're pecked into the ground. And so a lot of them have been eroded away. But here is the Peck Cross, this idea picked up all the way from deep in Mesoamerica and found in this rock art in New Mexico. At Teotihuacan, one of the pet crosses has 260 dots. And 260 dots represents the 260 days of the Aztec calendar. They have a base 20 system. 260 days was their year. And so the pet cross at Teotihuacan has 260 dots. So it was a calendar, and it was also a sort of like a compass, which showed north, south, east, and west. And over here to the left, this individual with a raised hand is probably one of the hero twins. And you're going to be hearing about the hero twins later, and why I think this raised hand here of this creature is related to the hero twins. So in this one particular pictograph, you have Tlaloc, the rain god, you have a pet cross from Mesoamerica, and you have one of the hero twins from the Maya world in Mesoamerica. So that's quite a display of Mesoamerican influence in just this one pictograph in New Mexico. Again, at Three Rivers, New Mexico, you have the goggle-eyed god with fangs, just like you see him in Mesoamerica. And there's that one from Waco, Texas that I told you about with the lightning, the thunder, the rain symbols, and his trapezoidal body, the goggle eyes. And then bottom left, another one from Waco Tanks, very similar to the one above, the goggle eyes, the trapezoidal body, and inside the trapezoidal body, you see the thunder, the lightning, and the rain symbolism. And then from a pictograph in southwestern New Mexico, this very stylized, very modernistic, very abstract image of Tlaloc, the rain god, broken up like a Picasso painting into separate elements rather than one design. So you have the goggle eyes, and then you have what were within the trapezoidal body, the squares broken up into kind of Picasso style, modernistic style imagery with lightning and rain and thunder and water imagery inside that modernistic body. And then over here, bottom right, from southwestern New Mexico, once again, the goggle eyes and the fangs, there you have Tlaloc, the rain god. And so not a lot of research has gone into this. And as a matter of fact, my lecture now, I'm going to tell you this, even though it sounds like I'm bragging, is more about Mesoamerican imagery in the Southwest rock art than anybody has ever done so far.
I was just going to comment, Mike, these are so spectacular. I know there's more to come, but the previous slide you showed with the 8 images, I've seen most of those. These are so much less well known, what you're showing now. And to show them such exact representations of the Mesoamerican Tlaloc that you find, this is not known generally.
No, it is.
These are such wonderful images. By the way, where is Three Rivers? Is that a visitable site, you know?
Yes, it is.
And do you know where it is in New Mexico? I can look it up. But
No, I haven't been there, so I don't know where it
so
is.
you can actually go and see the
Major site.
the
I didn't get this all from one book or one.
No, I
book.
understand that. No, it's just fantastic that you put this together. It's such a revelation. Yeah.
To find these scattered among other kinds of rock art and
Yeah.
then put them together for you.
No, this is amazing stuff. I'm so impressed.
Now, the second god that you're going to see represented in Southwest rock art is the major god in Mesoamerica. He's the creator god. He's the god that brought life to humankind. He's got a lot of the same iconographic, mythological features as Jesus does in Christian religion. Quetzalcoatl, the plump serpent. And so he begins appearing in Southwest rock art the same time as Scarlet Macaw trade begins in the Southwest, somewhere between 1100 to 1150 CE, as we say now, or AD, is when the plumed serpent begins to appear in different guises in Southwest rock art. So as soon as the trade begins, with it comes this idea of the plumed serpent, the major deity Quetzalcoatl. And so you can find Quetzalcoatl type imagery in the Southwest, from Arizona to New Mexico to Texas, as far north as Utah, Colorado, the Four Corners, and across the Southwest. What does he represent in Mesoamerica? Well, he's got a lot of attributes that Tlaloc also has. He's related to breath, to clouds, to gusts of wind accompanying rainstorms. And he's got an image as the guy that brings the wind, which brings the storms. And then he's called Ehecatl. That's one of the the images of Quetzalcoatl in his guise as the wind god, he's called Ehecatl. And he's got this big mask when he's depicted in this way, what they call a buccal mask. And that means he's blowing out the wind to bring the rain and fertility and storms. Quetzalcoatl, like someone else we know, was a benevolent god born of a virgin mother. He rescued humankind from the netherworld by dripping his blood onto the bones of men, women, and children, just like you know who had to give up his blood in order to save us. So you know, some of the similarities in ancient religions between major deities that you can see expressed here.
But John Wenger and you know who both have better beards.
Right. He taught men science and the calendar and devised ceremonies. He discovered corn and all the good aspects of civilization. He's a Lord of hope. He's a Lord of healing. And he's seen in the sky, and we're going to talk about this a lot later, as the planet Venus. So when they looked up at the morning sky, they saw Venus. Venus to them represented the resurrected God who gave up his blood for mankind and brought us to life, Quetzalcoatl. He glorified learning and arts and poetry and thought. So he's big God. And as he moved northward in his iconography, his imagery changed slightly in most places in the Southwest from being the plumed serpent to being the horned serpent, because they do have horned serpents in the Southwest. So they picked up that kind of imagery from the plumed serpent idea that they had in their head, because they were more used to the horned serpent, because they can see the horned serpent on the ground around them. But often the horned serpents that you see in Southwest rock art have plumes. So you can see the direct relationship between the horned serpent imagery and the plumed serpent imagery in Southwest rock art.
Mike, can you give us some idea of the, just chronologically here, because these images are appearing in Southwest quite late in the game. When these representations that we're seeing here of Quetzalcoatl and earlier ones, when they first began to appear in Mesoamerica in a recognizable form?
When did the first plumed serpent appear in?
Yeah, in a form that could be
All right,
sort of seen in the Southwest representations.
You're going to see that I'm surmising, and you'll see the art that's related to it in a bit, that the first plumed serpent was sculpted by the Olmecs going back to 700 BC.
So these are appearing in Mesoamerica more than 1,500 years later.
Yes, in Southwest more.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested to know. Yeah,
right. But the plumed serpent in the Highlands, probably that's not as late as 700 BC. We're talking about maybe 300, 400 AD.
yeah. Actually, I should have said 2,500 years later, not 1,500. So they had already existed in Mesoamerica for thousands of years before they began to appear in the Southwest.
Exactly. And you see here on this particular Aztec codice of Quetzalcoatl, there's his serpent, and on top of his head, he's got this conical headdress with this little, remember that little loop on top of that conical headdress, because you're going to see it represented in ancient Southwest rock art. And he's got sort of this big buccal mask on, the mask of Ehecatl, the wind god, through which he blows out the wind to bring rain, storms, and fertility. And so that's the imagery that you see in the Aztec codice of Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent god, and remember the conical helmet. All right, so I want you to remember that, because you're going to see it in the Southwest. And this horned and plumed serpent deity, this imagery, not only appears across the Rio Grande in North America in the ancient Southwest, but it goes as far east as the Mississippian civilization. And the Mississippian civilization stretched from as far west as Oklahoma and as far east and south as Florida. So it was a great, huge civilization in North America above the Rio Grande. And one of its major places for its expression was in Illinois. And the major Mississippian site that a lot of you I took you on a trip there, was the site of Cahokia down across the Mississippi River from St. Louis. And so you see the plumed and horned serpent also, as well as the Southwest, in the Mississippian region as well.
Mike, just a quickie, is that fourth image from Teotihuacan? That you just
Yes.
showed?
Yes, that's the,
Okay.
that's the plum serpent.
I thought I recognized it, yeah.
And right next door to it, as you can see, there is the plum, the Tlaloc, the rain gods. So the two main gods right next door to each other at Teotihuacan. This particular one is from the National Museum in Mexico City. It's an Aztec sculpture of the plumed serpent. And over here is the first one I told you about. I'm surmising that I think we can trace this and this to here, 700 BC, at the site of Chalcatzingo, the Olmec site, going back to 700 BC. And you can see here, it's a serpent, he's plumed. And so obviously, this is the first imagery of the plumed serpent in Mesoamerica. Some people might argue with me about that, but I think I'm right. Okay, now, I talked about how the plumed serpent appears in Mississippian culture, and here's some examples of that in Mississippian culture. Now, he changes from horned serpent and plumed serpent to rattlesnake, because there's so many rattlesnakes obviously along the Mississippi. So that's the guise of the plumed serpent that we find in the Mississippian area. But often he's plumed, and often he has the attributes of Quetzalcoatl. And so here you have an incised shell from Spiro Mounds in Oklahoma. Spiro Mounds is known as kind of the King Tut's tomb of findings of ancient artifacts of all the cultures north of the Rio Grande at Spiro Mounds. They found a noted intact mound at Spiro Mounds in Oklahoma, and inside this mound they found a veritable treasure trove of thousands of ancient artifacts and mounds. And so here's one of the artifacts they found, a shell incised with, here you have the serpents. These happen to be rattlesnakes, but you can see how similar in idea it appears to the horned serpents in the Southwest and the Quetzalcoatl in Mesoamerica. And in the center, you have the eye and hand motif, what they call the Oji motif in the Mississippian region in Native American language. And this particular Oji here, this eye, represents in their religion, when you die, you go out through this portal onto the Milky Way galaxy. And then you have to overcome some big challenges to get to your final either reincarnation or your final resting place. And if you don't make it there, I guess there's going to be bad things that happen to you. And inside the hand. And so here you have, in this Mississippian religious idea surrounding the hand and eye motif, this rattlesnake motif that looks a lot like the horned serpent motif and the plumed serpent motif in Mesoamerica. Here's a colorful line drawing of that shell, so you can see it more clearly in this particular slide here. And then somewhere in the Mississippian region, the provenience is not known, they found it, is a sandstone palette of a wound serpent. You see two of them here, again, grimacing teeth, big eyes, maybe plumes, probably meant to be rattlesnakes, but very similar to what I've been talking about. And again, a line drawing with color of one of the shell palettes that they found at Spiro Mounds. There he is, the serpent itself. But on both sides of the serpent are two folks that look very much like the hero twins from the Maya region. One has feminine attributes, and I'll explain that when we get to the hero twins. The other one has masculine attributes. So it's pretty clearly the hero twins imagery from the Maya religion coming all the way from the Gulf Coast into the Southwest, all the way across to Oklahoma and across the Mississippian region, the hero twins, tied to the serpent. And then another one here from the Spiro site, more.
Mike,
Yes.
the Spiro twins and serpent, that looks like a modern drawing.
It is a line drawing, yes. So,
Oh.
'cause, you can hardly make it out on the palette. So an artist made this for us. So you
Okay,
can see more clearly.
good.
And then another one from the Spiro site, you see again, the serpents entwined, rattlesnakes entwined, but look, they have plumes. Rattlesnakes don't have plumes, obviously. And so it's the plumed serpent, just and all the way over here in Oklahoma. And in the center, you see a Venus symbol. And I'm going to talk about the Venus symbol as one of the main guises that you see in ancient Southwest rock art. So hang on for that, and I will explain why that is a Venus symbol. But it's definitely a Venus symbol. And remember, who represents Quetzalcoatl as the morning star in Mesoamerica? Venus. And who do we have around Venus, the morning star? The plumed serpent. And so here you have imagery that comes all the way from the Mayan Gulf Coast of Mexico, Mesoamerica, all the way into the Southwest and all the way over west to Oklahoma, plumed serpents surrounding the Venus symbol, the Quetzalcoatl symbol in Oklahoma at the Spiro site. Again, nobody is going to tell you what I just told you, because I'm better at this so far than any archaeologist I've seen. I'm putting this to, I'm getting little hints, but not the main story. And I'm putting a main story together for you. And I hope other archaeologists are looking at this, and I have it all over the place so they can see it, that they pick up on this thing and extend on it, because it's new. And I'm putting it together for you. And again, I'm bragging, but for the first time.
Mike, the plumes are very striking in the lower image there. Can you go back 1 second?
Yes.
Those Spiro images. But in some of the serpents, there are no visible plumes.
Right.
So I imagine certain archaeologists would say the serpent motif is common in many cultures and so on. But what I find very convincing in what you're saying is the appearance of the twins in the upper right version. There are no plumes there, but there are the twins. In the other one that you have the plumes without the twins, but at least those two elements are present at Spiro. So it's pretty striking stuff.
Plus, again, surrounding Venus, Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, of course, that too.
You're right. I mean, it is striking, and if an archaeologist from Mississippian culture saw this and heard me, they'd have a hard time doubting it, wouldn't they? Seeing that. Now, how do we see him, Quetzalcoatl, in the ancient Southwest rock art? And again, a lot of people are going to be saying, if they look at this, well, as serpents or snakes, how do we know it's Quetzalcoatl? But you put these things together, you put them on a screen all at once, and the story becomes real. It becomes more known. So here we have at a site way far north in Utah, a site at a place called Moab, which is obviously a Mormon name in Utah. You have the serpent, and the serpent is curved. And those curves in all of rock art, in all of the imagery that you're going to find of Tlaloc and serpents and so on anywhere in the Americas, when they're curved like that, it represents rain, it represents clouds, it represents thunder, it represents lightning. And so in this serpent curved like this, you have all of those elements. And I'm saying that this is extended imagery of that plumed serpent as we see it in rock art as far north as Utah. In another site at White Shaman, Texas, you have various deities that the rock artist drew of his deities at White Shaman, Texas. And in the middle, going through these deities, you have the serpent again. And the serpent is curved as if it's going to bring rain and lightning and thunder and so on. And so I'm saying that that's imagery related to Quetzalcoatl from Mesoamerica. And he's shown as a major deity here because he's right in the center of other deities that this artist has painted on this rock. At San Rafael Swell in Utah, once again, you have one of these curved serpents representing, again, fertility, rain, lightning, and thunder. Down here in Mesa Prieta, New Mexico, you find, again, the horned serpent, and again, curved like a rain god, like rain, thunder, and lightning. And then finally, the most convincing one, and it ties these others together, inside Chaco Canyon. It's hard to make out because it's being eroded by time. But you have a serpent, there he's plumed. Out of his mouth is coming water symbolism. So, and out of a big mouth, so it's like Ehecatl, the wind god, blowing out wind to bring fertility, to bring rain, to bring the clouds and bring fertility. onto the serpent's body in a plume. So there's no doubt about it that this is a plume serpent, very much like Quetzalcoatl, blowing out through his mask water, just like we see with the plume serpent.
Where is this photo published? Do you remember, Mike? Where you got this one?
This particular one,
Yeah, the Chaco. Because I've been twice to Chaco and looked at this and not realized what you're just pointing out, the plume serpent that you see there. It depends on the light a bit, how clearly you see that they're not etched so deeply.
I'm
And
going to find out the spot, and I'm going to.
no, I remember looking at these more, I've been there twice to Chaco and I've looked at many other, but I never spotted this. And I find this extraordinary that you have a definite case to make that could be the plume serpent.
Yes, I think it is. I think it is.
Hmm.
And here at Panawan Gap, again, way far north in Utah, you've got the winding serpent that I say represents fertility and rain. And right next to it, you have this rain symbolism.
Hmm.
And so that's always rain symbolism in Southwest rock art. It's rain symbolism in Mesoamerica and across the Americas. So you got rain and you got the serpent in this particular pictograph. And then at Snake and Rabbit, New Mexico, here you have again a winding serpent. Again, the hornet serpent that you're seeing here at Snake and Rabbit, New Mexico, which is I'm saying is related to Quetzalcoatl.
By the way, as to that middle slide in the top rank there, news to me that there are any white shamans in Texas. Just a joke.
I know, I thought so. Although there could be.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because they're all taking psychedelics, right? So there you are. Anyway, at Alamos Canyon in Texas, we have this very Quetzalcoatl looking pictograph. And look, he's got that big mouth like he's blowing out the wind to bring the rain like Quetzalcoatl. And then here you have rain coming out over his head. That's meant to be rain. So Quetzal, and he's plumed. So it's a plumed serpent blowing out, bringing rain over his head. And this imagery down here below looks a lot like somebody in Mesoamerica might draw the body of Quetzalcoatl. So it's very close. And again, plumed serpent blowing out wind. Here's the rain. And to the right of this Aztec codice of Quetzalcoatl, here you have at Waco, Tanks, Texas. Look at the conical helmet. Look at the conical helmet to the left of Quetzalcoatl, the rain god. Look at the conical helmet of this guy here at Waco, Tanks, Texas. Certainly related. And then look, here comes the rain. Remember here, that's rain coming out of the right side of this iconography, Aztec codice of Quetzalcoatl. And here you have rain coming out of his conical helmet at Waco, Tanks, Texas. And remember that little loop right there. And that certainly looks a little bit like the stylized loop that you see on this codice, the Aztec codice of Quetzalcoatl. So that is, and then inside the inserts on the conical helmet, rain, lightning, thunder, related to Quetzalcoatl. And then here in Galisteo, Texas, you have again the horned serpent, again, the mask, fierce mask, maybe blowing out wind. And then to the right of that serpent, you have a bird. Now, I don't know what kind of bird that's meant to be, but if it's a scarlet macaw, if it's meant to be a scarlet macaw, then we can see the direct relationship between the scarlet macaw trade from Mesoamerica directly influencing this imagery of Quetzalcoatl here at Galisteo, Texas.
Mike, I have to leave quickly, but I want a quick question. In the images that you're showing from the codices, these codices are, of course, very late in the story. They're what, 16th century. So are we confident that images such as this is kind of done up a bit, the one you're showing there, that those are very much more ancient, that they are depictions of how people would have viewed the Quetzalcoatl thousands of years earlier?
Well, I mean, not thousands of years, but
or many hundreds of years, because if these images came into the Southwest about 1100 AD or whatever you showed, the codices themselves are much later than that, aren't they?
But yeah, most of them. This one, though, I think you could have found this one in 1300 AD in Mesoamerican. I'm going to try to find it, so I will find it.
All right, I'm sorry. I really am really sorry I have to bow out so soon, but bye to all of you, and I'm going to watch the recording, believe me.
Okay, all right, Bob. I'll see you later. And then down here at the bottom at San Rafael Swell in Utah, again, horned serpent, and again looking like it's rain, lightning, and thunder, and those could be interpreted as plumes coming out of his head. So there you have how the imagery of Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent, expresses itself not only in ancient Southwest rock art, but in all kinds of art in the Mississippian region. Now we're going to talk about the third symbol here that's big in ancient Southwest rock art and also big in Mesoamerica, the Venus symbol. Now, what does Venus represent in Mesoamerica? Well, he's a male god. He represents warfare. He represents sacrifice. And a guy that is a friend of mine who's one of the major scholars in this area of Venus, John Carlson, he realized with a lot of research, god awful amount of research, that across the board in Mesoamerica, that the Mesoamericans actually fought wars on the cycle of the planet Venus. So they timed their wars based upon the cycle of the planet Venus. So they fought Venus-regulated warfare, and you can see that in various inscriptions and iconography, and from Spanish chronicles and ethno-historical sources, and from pre-Columbian codices, that they did fight wars on the cycle of the planet Venus. And John Carlson called this Star Wars. And like, nice name and aptly named, as you can see. And the rays from planet Venus, when they looked up at the nighttime sky and they saw Venus there, they felt that it had rays, and they saw those rays as deadly spears. Sometimes you could see them in the morning as the morning star, and more often, rays coming out of that planet after sunset as the evening star. And so from 900 to 1200 CE or AD, the Venus symbolism appears in Northwest Mexico, and from Northwest Mexico into the Casas Grandes region in New Mexico. So it begins to appear around 1200 or so CE in New Mexico, this Venus symbolism. And by 1300 CE, across the Southwest, symbolism began to spread. And also among this Venus symbolism, they showed you depicted in very dramatic style the morning star and warfare-related symbolism in their rock art, and in some of the murals that they did in their kivas. Now, the Casas Grandes Cultural Complex, as it is called, centered itself in this huge northern Mexican site right across the border from New Mexico, Paquimé. And from Paquimé was direct transmission of this Venus symbolism into New Mexico. And remember, they're trading scarlet macaws from Paquimé into New Mexico at this time. And so with the scarlet macaws comes this idea of this Venus symbolism and this Venus-related art. And at Paquimé, you have ball courts, which you have also in the Southwest and across Mesoamerica. You have the plumed serpent, horned serpent imagery. You have cross-shaped architectural features at Paquimé, at a place called Mound of the Cross, which I'm going to show you in a minute, which are all manifestations of, remember that Venus represents Quetzalcoatl, so it's the Quetzalcoatl-Venus complex. And so the idea of the rebirth of Quetzalcoatl, and he ascends into the sky as Venus, is this outline cross. And so he's seen as a sky god in Mesoamerica, and he's also going to be seen as a sky god in the Southwest. Again, because Venus is represented by warfare and conflict and cyclical wars, the stars are feared in the sky. They're regarded as dangerous. Their association with conflict is pervasive. And because morning star represents Quetzalcoatl, the good guy, he's often perceived as the sun's warrior. So when he rises up in the sky, he defeats darkness as it rises because it's helping the sun bring life to mankind. And then down here below, you see the Maya symbol for the planet Venus. And this is also the symbol for day 8 in the Maya calendar. The day 8 in the Maya calendar in the Maya language is Lamat, Lamat. Lamat means Venus in their language. So you have an outlined cross. As you can see, it's outlined. There's the cross in the center. And there's sort of like cosmovision of the 4 corners of the universe, all rotating or pillaring up the morning star, the important star, the one that represents Quetzalcoatl, Venus. Now, in Mesoamerica, what does Venus look like across Mesoamerica? Well, here you have a image of a turtle, a sculpture of a turtle that was found in the Maya region. And on the back of the turtle is shown the planet Venus. There's the 4 corners, there's the outlined cross, and the cross in the center. And why would this be on the back of the turtle? Remember what I told you about how folks in Mesoamerica saw the turtle as very divine because it's floating on the water. It represented sort of a portal between the underworld and this world. And so that symbolism on the back of that turtle represents ideas emanating from that. And there's the Lamat Day 8 Venus. Here's another version artistically in another Maya site of Venus. Again, you have the outlined cross. There's the 4 corners and there's the cross in the center. From the Aztec-related site of Tenayuca in central Mexico, you have the sculpture inside of a stone. There it is, the outlined cross. There's the 4 corners representing Venus. Down here below, I think, is the first imagery ever of this outlined cross symbolism. Where did it begin? The same place the plumed serpent began, with the Olmecs going all the way back to 700 BC. Again, this is arguable, and some folks would argue with me who are archaeologists of that site, and others would agree. But here you have this particular sculpture was placed over the mouth of a cave. So inside the mouth of this sculpture was the cave. So inside that cave was this imagery here of this Olmec guide. And so you can see it's a cross, and it's an outline cross. There's the outline of the cross, as you can see here. And it represents fertility. There you have a corn plant coming out of the side of this particular deity. And so I think that that's the first imagery of what we're seeing in all these other slides of the outlined cross, going all the way back to 700 BC with the mother culture in Mesoamerica, the Olmecs.
Mike, what does carapace mean? The turtle carapace? I don't even know how to pronounce it.
The carapace is the shell of the turtle is called its carapace.
Thank you.
So there you are. So now, again, the much later site of Paquimé, right south of New Mexico, I told you that there was this mound of the cross that represented Venus, and this is taken from a helicopter above. There you have the outline cross, and there's the 4 corners of the universe. And so right there, etched into the ground by the folks at Paquimé, is this Venus symbolism representing, again, this very powerful imagery that's going to find its way into New Mexico and then across the Southwest. Now, these 2 images to the bottom right are images of 2 aristocratic ladies at a Maya site known as Piedras Negras. And in this particular one here, you see the outline cross in her tunic. See those there. So there's the Venus symbolism in her tunic. And in this particular aristocratic lady's tunic, you see as a necklace, there's the Venus symbolism, the outline cross, and as a bracelet. So this symbolism, very important, all the way across Mesoamerica, from the highlands, all the way over to the Gulf Coast, all the way up to the Southwest you're going to see Venus everywhere, coming out of Mesoamerica and impacting the Southwest in a tremendous and big way. Now, how do we see this represented in ancient Southwest rock art? This kind of symbolism is even more direct than you saw with the plumed serpent symbolism that I just showed you. Here in Southwest New Mexico, look, there's exact same imagery from Mesoamerica, the outlined cross right there as a pictograph in southwestern New Mexico. Here at a site called Valley of Fire State Park in Nevada, there's the outline cross directly related to the outline crosses that I showed you in Mesoamerica. And there you have the water symbolism right there. And so if these are deer, I don't know if they're meant to be deer, but if they're meant to be deer, you're going to see a relation between that deer and the hero twins. So you might be seeing two different Mesoamerican emanations here in this one pictograph. If those are deer, it will be related to the hero twins, which I will discuss later, but there directly is the outline cross on this pictograph of Valley Fire State Park, and there's water symbolism here. At the Three Rivers site that you've seen pictographs from, there's the Peck Cross circle. And in the middle of the Peck Cross, there it is, the Venus symbolism. And the Venus symbolism is surrounded, like you see in all the art, like it's an outlined Venus with Peck Cross symbolism attached to it. So you get a double Mesoamerican whammy here in this particular petroglyph.
Is the picture in the lower left there a close-up? They look pretty much the same.
As you can see, this one just looks like a windmill. That one is straight up and down. See,
Oh,
just
you're right. Yeah.
not quite the same.
Okay.
Over here in Johnson Canyon on the Ute Reservation in Colorado, there it is, the outline cross. And look what's right next to it, the water symbolism. And right here, you see two images of folks with their hands up, which I'm pretty certain are the hero twins, the masculine one and the feminine one, and their hands are shown. And you're going to see when I describe the hero twins to you, why that's important and why that's probably the hero twins. So you got the water symbolism, you got the outline cross, Venus, and you got the hero twins all in one petroglyph here at Johnson Canyon Ute Reservation, Colorado. So you can see the impact Mesoamerica has on these folks. Here at Three Rivers again, the Peck Cross Circle. Again, there's the sort of a stylized Venus surrounded by the usual, surrounding the Venus symbolism in the center. And there's the Peck Cross again, directly from Mesoamerica. Now, here's a Peck Cross that they found all the way over in Guatemala at a site, Washout Tomb. There you see the Peck Cross. It's sculpted into the ground. These Peck Crosses are always sculpted into the ground. They found maybe 6 of these so far at Teotihuacan, between 4 and 6 of these at Teotihuacan. So far, they found 37 of these across Mesoamerica in both the Maya realm and in the Highlands realm. And again, this one will have 260 dots representing the 260-day Central Highlands calendar, the yearly calendar, plus it's like a compass, north, south, east, and west, pointing in northerly direction, wherever they place this. So you can see the similarity between the Peck Cross circle here in Guatemala and the Peck Cross. Look at like the compass, the circle surrounding it, and the Peck Crosses. So Guatemala to New Mexico, you can see the imagery and how it's borrowed and how it stretches this huge distance across the board all the way into New Mexico. At Red Rocks, Arizona, there it is directly. The Venus symbol surrounded. And at Red Rocks, Arizona, again, there they are, 2 of them right here. This one is a little lighter than this one. This lighter one, I think, is probably the morning star ascending into the heavens. And look what's coming out of it. Remember, Venus, the morning star, Quetzalcoatl, and there's the serpent, also representing probably water coming out of Venus, the morning star. This one down below is darker, probably representing Venus going down into the underworld as the evening star, representing on this one pictograph at Red Rock, Arizona. And at a place in Sedona, the Red Rock Straw. Did you get to see this when you went to Sedona, John?
I know. No, but the red color is certainly, it certainly comes back.
And so here you have the Venus symbolism again. The
Yeah.
water symbolism all over the place here, but again, directly related to Mesoamerica, the Venus symbolism right here. That surrounded Venus symbolism directly from Mesoamerica here in Red Rock Draw, Sedona in Arizona. Now, here's something very mysterious and in which there has to be a lot more research because of how amazing this particular symbol is. You have here double crosses, and one could be the morning star, one could be the evening star. You have serpents related to it. Remember Venus, Quetzalcoatl, water symbolism. And so these are from a site in Arizona called North Kofa. And so you have single and double outlined Venus symbolism. There's the water symbolism as well in these drawings of these pictographs at North Kofa in Arizona, double. And I think it represents the morning star and the evening star in one outlined Venus symbolism. And here over on the left at the El Tacomate site in northern Mesoamerica, Sinaloa, you find again, there's the outline crosses that you find here at Tecomate. And here you have the double cross found at Tecomate as well. And at Teotihuacan, you find these murals painted onto the walls. There's a mural that represents the plumed serpent, Quetzalcoatl, and there's the Venus symbolism in a mural at Teotihuacan. So you can see it's pretty constant piece of iconography that you find everywhere in Mesoamerica and then into the Southwest. Let's see if I can.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, what I wanted to say, I thought I had another slide here, but I don't. You find these double crosses all the way to the Caribbean and all the way south to South America. So this is a symbol that spreads all the way to Utah, all the way down to South America, this double cross, and all the way over to the Caribbean. Now, I do a lot of research on this stuff. I have never read a single research article yet which explains how this particular symbol found its way all the way to the Caribbean and all the way to South America from Mesoamerica. So that's research that's yet to be done. It's an amazing thing. And it's an amazing piece of research that is unknowable so far. How did that happen? How did it spread that far? You wouldn't expect to see it in the Caribbean, for example. Okay, but it's the same symbol, looks just like that. So it's not a mistake. It's not, some kind of coincidence.
Is
All
it
right.
possible that you have the same symbol for two different things?
It could be, but look at how much of a coincidence that would be. I
True.
mean, outline double cross. And then also as far south as South America. So, somebody's got to figure it out. Some researchers got to look into this and they haven't done it yet. And finally, the fourth big symbol, the fourth piece of iconography that stretches from Mesoamerica all the way into the ancient Southwest is the hero twins symbolism. And so the hero twins is the main Bible of the Maya. And it's called the Popol Vuh. And interestingly enough, and very strange, the original, the oldest extant original book of the Popol Vuh, written by a Maya scribe in Maya hieroglyphics, is at the Newberry Library in Chicago. And they didn't even know they had it. And how did it get there? And this, I'll tell you that story real fast. Jesuits who came in as part of the conquest in Mesoamerica a lot of them, because they're Jesuits and they went to more learned universities and so on, they had some sympathy for the ideas of the Mesoamerican peoples. They didn't just, disregard it as works of the devil. And so when they found these transcripts of this Maya Bible, they protected it from their bishop or their cardinal, who would have burned it, thrown it and burned it. And so they passed these manuscripts from Jesuit to Jesuit, from one Jesuit seminary to another, further and further north, until it somehow got to Chicago and somehow got into the archives, the huge archives of the Newberry Library in Chicago. And they didn't even discover they had this. It was just lost in there until the 1950s. So you can actually go see, and they actually let you handle it. You know, you do this. That particular transcript, the oldest one known, at the Newberry Library, handed down from one Jesuit seminary to another until it reached Chicago in the 1950s. And so we can read it. We can read the Maya hieroglyphics, so we know what their whole Bible is about. And the two hero twins, they're in the Maya language, they're called Hunahpu and Xbalanque. And Hunahpu and Xbalanque, the hero twins, had a great impact all the way from the Maya realm in Guatemala and Chiapas and Honduras and Belize and so on, all the way to the ancient Southwest. And the folks who did the greatest research on this in the Southwest, Patricia Gilman and Mark Thompson, I read a lot about what they researched while I was preparing this particular lecture. And so they showed us how the hero twins mythology, iconography spread from Mesoamerica into the ancient Southwest. So I had a lot more information going from them than I had with this other imagery. And the hero twins, they go through a lot of challenges in their fight they're also savior gods. They bring life to mankind like Quetzalcoatl did over in the Mesoamerican realm. And they have to battle the gods of the underworld in order to bring life to mankind. And so there are always life and death struggles. And as a matter of fact, in one struggle, they died. But through various machinations, they were able to be reincarnated and eventually bring life to mankind. Now, the older twin, Hunahpu, is always shown as larger and stronger with a larger right arm. Remember this symbolism, right-handed and masculine. The younger twin, Xbalanque, is smaller, left-handed, more feminine. And when they become reincarnated, save mankind and rise to the heavens, the male one becomes the sun, the female one becomes the moon. Now, in Southwest rock art and in Mesoamerican iconography, the moon and the rabbit are representing the younger twin. And in the older twin, his guise is the sun and deer. And when you look up at the moon and you can make out the rabbit in the moon imagery, that rabbit in the moon represents the younger twin, and that's why the rabbit is seen as a guise for the younger twin as well. Now, when did this happen? The hero twins express themselves in the ancient Southwest. Well, scarlet macaws were introduced into Mesoamerica 1000 to 1150 CE. And with the scarlet macaw come all these influences in iconography from Mesoamerica, including the hero twins ideas. And remember also, I gave you a lecture on this once, chocolate, cacao was also traded into the Southwest from Mesoamerica. And with the introduction of chocolate came ideas surrounding chocolate, more socio-religious themes that tied Mesoamerica to the Southwest. And there's one culture in the Southwest, the Mimbres culture, that adopted the stories that you find in the Popol Vuh that was taught to them by Mesoamerican traders, the whole thing, wholesale, right into their art, on their pottery, on their plates, wherever they did their art, you can see specific stories coming right out of the Popol Vuh of the hero twins. And some archaeologists surmise that there was this great Kiva tradition in the Southwest. You see it across the Southwest in these great Southwest sites. You see these big circles, and underground areas under these circles that the folks in these sites, with the warriors from these sites and the priests from these sites, would go down into this hollowed out area below on rope ladders, and they would meditate in there to the gods and in preparation for battle. And it was kind of a male fraternity, and that's what the kiva was for. And this kiva tradition that you see across the Southwest begins disappearing around 1000 CE. And that's exactly when Mesoamerican themes began to appear in the Southwest. And so it could be that this very powerful story or stories of the hero twins and the introduction of trade like the Scarlet Macaws changed their religion so that the old Kiva religion disappeared and Mesoamerican religions took their place. And the Mimbres culture stretched across New Mexico, Arizona, and down into northern Mexico. And so they were pretty wide, and they brought these stories of the hero twins to everybody in the Southwest. Now, on this slide here, I gave you a lecture once on Scarlet Macaw trade, and you can see down here in the jungles along the Gulf Coast of Mesoamerica and further into the jungle areas of the Yucatan, south of the Yucatan. That's where the Scarlet Macaw's homeland is. And then you see Scarlet Macaws all the way up here at Paquimé and the Casas Grandes culture, at all of these sites. In the Mimbres culture, Scarlet Macaws are found in the Hohokam, and all the way up to Chaco Canyon and Pueblo Bonito, there are the remains of Scarlet Macaws. So how did these Scarlet Macaws get from here all the way up to here? And that's where more research has to be done, and that's where research is beginning. I just saw a lecture on some of the guys in the forefront of this new field of research. How did Scarlet Macaws get from here to here? And it's not an easy story, and they've got to still figure a lot of it out. But there you have it. That was Scarlet Macaws here, and the trade extends up to here and into the Southwest up here. Now, at the site of Pueblo Bonito, which part of the Chaco culture in the Southwest, they found at a site at Pueblo Bonito in a great house at Pueblo Bonito, these drinking cups. And inside these drinking cups, they found cacao. They chemically found all the traces of chocolate. So we knew that they were drinking chocolate from these vessels. And everywhere we have found chocolate in the Southwest, and some of it going all the way up to Utah, the same vessels are used to drink chocolate from. And by the way, these same kinds of vessels are found at Maya sites in Mesoamerica, and that's the kinds of vessels that they drank chocolate from. So there's a very direct connection between styles of cups and drinking chocolate that go all the way from Guatemala all the way up into the Southwest and as far north as Utah.
Hold up for just a second, Mike. Sally, did you call me? Okay, I'm sorry, Mike. I thought
Okay.
I heard
Yes, sir.
calling, she was in trouble.
And then here's the question that Bob asked me, a map of the Mimbres region. So down here, New Mexico, up here, Arizona, and down here, northern New Mexico. So they're stretching from northern New Mexico all the way into Arizona and all the way up here into New Mexico. So they had a wide range, and in that wide range, they're bringing ideas, stories, and particular and specific iconography of the hero twins. Now, here are some Mimbres culture plates and bowls.
Before you leave that, going back to those cups, they're quite beautiful. How old are they?
That's from 1200 or so CE. 1200 CE from this great house.
See, oh, you mean AD? Yeah, right.
So
Right.
that's how old they are. So they were, luckily, they were intact.
Uh-huh.
And they found 37 of these vessels intact at Pueblo Bonito in Chaco. And then they found others intact throughout the Southwest, stretching, as I said, as far north as Utah.
1200. Wow.
Yes. In Utah, it would have been a little later, maybe 1350, but there they are.
Uh-huh.
And so in this classic membrace pottery, here you have in this pot, this membrace pot, the hero twins. One is masculine, one is feminine, and they're seen as macaw traders, as scarlet macaw traders. You see, they've got the macaws on kind of sticks that they're carrying, a sort of stylized version of carrying the macaws. But we have since found out with this new research I have told you about that they could not keep them in cages because the macaw beaks are so strong, they would have broken through the cages. So they had to carry them sort of on their shoulders as pet birds. But we found that they bond with humans. And so they might fly around in the sky, but they'll come back to their humans. And so we see this in membrace pottery, and we didn't know it until these newest researchers are telling us they had to carry them this way because they couldn't have put them in cages because it wouldn't have worked. So there you see it, 1200, the way they did it actually in this, and it's the hero twins. And then here you have on this black and white style bowl of the hero twins, the larger one and the smaller one, one wearing female garb and the other one wearing male garb. They're showing the arms. One has a stronger right arm. One has a smaller left arm.
I don't see the difference in the garb.
Yes, because one's female and one's
The one on the left is the male, you're saying?
the one on the left is actually the female
Oh, okay.
because she's wearing sort of a tunic with it, and this one is wearing a belt.
Okay. I see.
And then on this particular plate, you see, in this particular plate, you see the mother of the hero twins giving birth to one of the hero twins. There's the hero twins coming out,
Oh, for-
being birthed. And we know that it's the female one because she's got her left hand up. You see how important showing those hands were to those folks trying to portray the hero twins in their iconography. And so here's the mother of the hero twins that is giving birth to the first of the hero twins. And then here again, you have on one of their plates, line drawing one of the plates, the male and the female. And over their head is a fish. And I don't want to go into the length of these stories, are pretty long, but one of the things they had to do is defeat this underwater fish monster. And so they're sort of carrying the dead fish on their shoulders. So we know that's the hero twins, and we know it's directly related to that fish story that in the Popol Vuh. And then in this particular pottery, this particular plate, we find a shaman wearing a plume, serpent kind of headdress, and he's decapitating, as you can see, with his knife here, a head from somebody he's kind of sitting on. But as you can see, there's kind of a string attached to this head.
Yeah.
And the reason you see that is because this was a magic trick. They weren't really cutting the head off of this guy. It was like a modern musician doing a very fancy magic trick on stage where sawing a woman in half and so on, where they weren't actually doing that. And this particular magic trick is the way in which they defeated the Lord of the Underworld and defeated death and brought life to mankind. And that story is much too long to tell you. But there's the story right there in New Mexico of the exact story from the Popol Vuh in Guatemala. So you can see that story is graphically represented, and then it's going to be, these stories are going to, as you saw, go across New Mexico, Arizona, from northern Mexico, and it's going to spread. Now, how do we see it in ancient Southwest rock art? Here at Gila River in Arizona, there they are, and look at the hands, one's smaller, one's larger, masculine, feminine, and so on. It's pretty distinct. What they're showing is the hero twins. In an area called Gold Butte in Nevada, there they are again, and they're showing their hands. They're showing kind of plume serpent headdresses there, and they're tied together as if they're twins. And one is larger, one is smaller on the rock art here in Nevada. And then at Dinosaur National Monument in Utah, once again, smaller and larger, the hero twins. all the way up north to Utah. McConkle Ranch, Utah, there they are again, the larger one and the smaller one. They're showing their hands once again, their arms. Unmistakable, meaning to be the hero twins. And again, at the McConkle Ranch in Utah, you've got this bigger one representing the male and the smaller one representing the female.
They look the same height to me, or just about.
Well, one's larger. Look at the face, smaller, larger, a little larger shoulders. She's wearing the female tunic. He's got that male belt.
Right.
It's pretty close, but it's still recognizable
Okay.
as the hero twins.
Okay.
Now, let's see if I can bring back something I can't. So that brings me to the end of how Mesoamerica is represented in the ancient Southwest and in one case all the way over to the Mississippi. Mesoamerican iconography, Mesoamerican themes, Mesoamerican ideas.
I hate to ask this question, but what does meso mean?
Well, sort of in between the North and the South,
Okay,
sort of the median in between.
I see. Okay.
So there you have it. Now, again, the material I'm giving you today is brand new. No, as Bob was telling you, no one can put together a lecture like this because I thought about it. I had to do a lot of research to get these photos and tie it together somehow to the Mesoamericans. I got a few hints from Patricia Gilman and Sean Carlson and a few others, but this is something you're seeing that's new that no one else in the area of Mesoamerican research has done in quite this way. So you're
That's
seeing,
very nice, Mike. Have you thought about delivering this to experts?
this was an Islander lecture, and so experts did watch this lecture, folks who are Southwest archaeologists and Southwest experts in iconography, and they told me, yeah, that they know about this rock art, but they never put it together like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So I may take this on the road and show it in various other, like Pre-Columbian Society, Washington, DC, and so on. I may show this lecture, but unfortunately, since I showed it on Islander and folks from around the archaeological world of ancient Americas watch it, I don't know if it's going to have an audience now someplace else.
Uh-huh.
I've already seen it, but we'll see.
I have a general question, and I suppose you could ask this of all historians, but in particular, this kind of stuff, which seems so alien to us, how did they figure all of these things out? I mean, how did they know who the hero twins were and what their significance was and all of that?
Okay, there's a story behind each one, of course, a
Yeah.
long story. But the hero twins, I did tell you a big part of the story. We could translate Maya hieroglyphics and we can read the entire Bible. And now you know that it's at Newberry Library in Chicago. The oldest version of this Hero Twins Bible is at Newberry Library in Chicago, and it is translated. And you can go see that particular version, not the translated one, but the original. So we know the Maya Bible because we have it. And we know all the stories because we have it. And then we can see in Membrace iconography, in Mesoamerican iconography, these stories reenacted in artistic form, right? So that's one story, the hero twins.
Uh-huh.
With the rest, like Quetzalcoatl and so on, we understand it from folks who talk to the conquerors, Jesuits and other religious institutions. We can go back in ethnography and figure out Native American themes, including ancient ones like the Aztecs and the Toltecs and so on, and we can see these images represented in their ethnography, and we can start putting these things together bit by bit, icon by icon, until eventually you have 10,000 of these. And you can put them together as one piece, and you can begin piecing together the story, can't you? So it's slow. It's real slow going. And as I said, some of this we not even beginning to research. How do we know what those double crosses are doing all the way in the Caribbean and all the way down to South America? We don't even know that yet. And we have to piece together the timeline and the way it was transported from where we know it was in Guatemala and Honduras and in the Central Highlands, and then see it emanated all the way up into the Southwest. How did that get translated to the Caribbean and South America? We know that still has to be done. So it's a slow process. Archaeology is slow because of that. When the first pre-Clovis site was accepted, I lectured you on this at Monteverde in southern Chile. It took that guy, that very good archaeologist, 20 years to prove that all the stuff that he had excavated was pre-Clovis. 20 years. So he wrote about it in the 1970s until 1991. No one would believe it. But 20 years of research from 1970 to 1990 with every scientific instrument known to man, one by one proved with all of their instruments that yes, indeed, the guy that said that these artifacts and these findings at Monteverde were pre-Clovis. Means that they came here before the last ice age, and how they got there before the last ice age, they came by canoe, not across the Bering Strait because there was a glacier there blocking them, but all the way down the Pacific. They came over the Bering Strait by way of hugging the ice, and they fished for kelp along the way and other kinds of fish, and then they took their canoes all the way south along the Pacific coast of North America, finding themselves all the way at the southern tip of Chile, at the site of Monteverde. And we know that they had to have started. That site at Monteverde is 13,500 years old. We know that they had to start going by canoe because they're not in a race. And folks who travel by canoe would only go a few miles, stop, because they hunted out the area they were in. They'd go a few miles, stop, hunt out that area, get in some more canoes, maybe 100 years later, go, so it would take 50,000 years for them, the way we know ancient people travel by canoe, to get to Chile. So the question is, all right, show us a site 50,000 years old in North America. And it's not going to happen for a long time because that's all underwater now. That coast is submerged, of course, by ocean sea rise. And so we're not going to find stuff that old because it's way under the Pacific Ocean. Maybe someday with better instrumentation and so on, we'll begin seeing something maybe 20,000 years old, 30,000 years old below the ocean. So that's a tough search.
Bravo, Mike. This is really nice.
So there you are. Everybody's left but you. And I'm glad you stayed with me. You're a great guy. You come to all these. I'll never forget you. You're one of my revered people, despite the fact we sometimes argue online. Of all the people I've ever known in my life, thank you for everything you've done for me.
You're the one who put this whole thing together.
I did.
You're the hero.
For you. All right, I'm going to stop sharing right now, and I'm going to end us.
Okay. It was
Right.
very nice, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.